oh cool, the trailer for X-Men 97 dropped. I wonder what people have to say about it.
Disney can't help but make everything woke and gay.
Simply put, this show,
Morph is non-binary.
They have absolutely no validity. The whole queer cult have no validity.
Oh, how we doing, guys? X-Men #1 was published in 1963, and the characters within were some of the many brainchildren born from the complicated partnership between Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, the details of which would warrant their own video, and there's already a million of those, so, you know, take your pick. Since their first publication in the 1960s, mutants have been a representation of all manner of marginalized groups. Throughout their publication in the 1960s, parallels were often drawn between the anti-mutant villains as well as the social aspect of riots and protests in the X-Men comics and those of the civil rights movement that consumed the American consciousness for the latter half of the 1950s and into the 1970s. The X-Men also found home in some spaces of the LGBTQ community, who identified very heavily with the fact that mutants were unable to live as themselves or be who they truly felt inside for fear of being ostracized by their friends, family, their communities, and society as a whole. These aren't even considering the additional symbolic and overt social justice storylines the comic has tackled regarding religious inequality, sexism, and anti-Semitism. I mean, for God's sake, one of the main characters is a Holocaust survivor. This series, from its very inception, has always been remarkably progressive. Now, obviously, not every X-Men comic was an allegory of the plight of these marginalized groups that had begun to look to these stories as a form of representation. They are superhero comics after all, and while they aren't incapable of telling nuanced, complex, and really groundbreaking stories, they can also be a little bit silly sometimes. You know, and every now and then they get a little goofy, and that's okay too. But all of this brings me to the trailer for X-Men 97, a revival of the X-Men animated series that aired from 1992 to 1997 and is considered to be one of the top tier animated shows from the 90s. And upon first viewing, I wasn't really sure why people were so mad about it. The art style isn't drastically different. It looks really amazing actually, just more updated. They really don't make them like this anymore. This shot of Wolverine and Gambit is really cool, and using the original theme from the old show is a super nice touch. Some people seem to be kind of upset at the Easter egg of the Daily Bugle front page referring to the Hellfire Gala, which is a relatively recent comic book storyline where the X-Men host a big fancy ball to celebrate mutant culture and invite a bunch of other people from the Marvel Universe to attend. This comic seems to get a lot of flack online for some reason, but I didn't read it until making this video, and I like superhero stories where you have the characters taking a break from the action and just talking to each other. It gives the writers an easy way to give readers exposition on world events and new plots and schemes without feeling like they're having everything told to them. Plus, this storyline doesn't really seem to have any kind of woke agenda, so I don't really get what the big deal is. This trailer doesn't even seem to give any indication that this storyline is going to be adapted. It kind of just seems like it was an Easter egg for modern comic book readers. With the way that people reacted to this trailer, you would think that it was 1 minute and 50 seconds of Wolverine dressed in drag as he lectures Scott about the long-term ramifications of patriarchal hierarchies within the X-Men and how they need to be systematically dismantled to allow for more equal leadership in the organization before they share a tender kiss and have full frontal intercourse to completion. But strangely and disappointingly, that's not at all what happens. For all intents and purposes, this trailer is essentially wokeless. It's devoid of any overt leftist agenda. It's dead asleep, dog. So why are all of these chuds on Twitter and YouTube so pissed off? It appears to be that there's some anger surrounding the fact that Morph, a character that has the ability to shapeshift, now identifies as non-binary. And that seems to be it. And like, really? You're mad that a character who has the ability to literally change everything about themselves at a moment's notice, from male to female to dog to cat to garden variety newt, might possibly have a hang-up about firmly labeling themselves within one gender? You don't think that someone who literally has the ability to change their gender at will might not really give a shit about being a boy or a girl? I just don't understand how you can claim to be a massive fan of a series like the X-Men and not have the media literacy to understand that you're acting like the very same people who would be holding these signs in protest in the comic. I know that sometimes when changes are made to characters you've known for years, it can feel a little bit jarring, but this is such a minute change that I don't even understand making a fuss about it. I mean, what's the difference between this and Morph changing genders intermittently throughout the show as part of his powers? How does now knowing that this character doesn't adhere specifically to any one gender, something that they already didn't do, make you so uncomfortable? It's not to say that there have been reboots or new shows that have come out recently where I'm not a huge fan of the changes made to some characters or the direction that they were taken, but when your problems with these characters can always be linked back to race or sexuality, I'm tuned out of anything else that you have to say. And like, it's okay if you don't like the new X-Men show, just don't be a bigot about it. That's all I have to say. I don't really have anything else to say about this, but I just felt like I really needed to say something because this discourse is incredibly ridiculous. I promise I'll have something a little bit more substantial for you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, my name is Isaiah, and thank you so much for watching my video.